Sunday, August 26, 2018, Monaco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. This morning I'd like to go over the Jim Sinclair Bill Holter interview with Greg Hunter. It's come out overnight. I've listened to it. And the first thing I would say to you, because some of my viewers asked me to do a little recap of the interview, but I won't do it justice. You need to really listen to the whole thing. That's the most important thing I would say. And it's just over an hour, but it's worth it. The title is Jim Sinclair and Bill Holter, The World is Venezuela. First of all, I'd like to say that I did a video a few days ago, August 23rd, entitled Gold Always Balances the Balance Sheet of the USA, says Jim Sinclair. And that was looking at the piece that Jim Sinclair and Bill Holter wrote on JS Mindset, in which they announced that they were going to do this interview with Greg Hunter. And I'll put the link to that interview above in the cards and also in the description. I'll do the same for the actual interview, which I highly recommend. And before I start recapping the most important things that points that I took from it, I like to say I've been following Jim Sinclair or jsmindset.com since 2002. He does have a $129 a year paid service. That has been going on for 2 or 3 years. Jim Sinclair has always generously given his time to help the public about the gold market. He's a true legend, I would say, of financial markets, gold markets. He was called in by the U.S. government to clean up the bunker hunt mess on COMEX, the silver market, in 1980. So he knows what he's talking about, and so does Bill Holter, of course. Just to give you an example, when I type on my browser the letter J, type on my keyboard and I have my browser up, I type J, the first thing that comes up is JS Mindset on my browser. And that's been happening for many, many, many years. So I do follow it closely and I respect his views. The most important, and there's a lot they talk about, but I'm not going to go over the whole thing. You guys should do that. But the most important thing, the few points that I think you need to know, one of them is that the emerging market currency crisis we're seeing pop all over the place, that's for real. That's not going to just be isolated to the emerging markets. And I've been saying that. And the main reason for that is not really political, as Jim Sinclair says, and I agree with him. It's partly political, but also more to do with monetary policy, with the fact that the Federal Reserve has flooded the world with trillions of dollars in the last 10 years, and now it's reining back that liquidity. And as we know, in a fiat money system, the US dollar is the currency that's used to borrow money everywhere in the world. It's the base of everyone's monetary system. That's what people need to understand. The Brazilian real, the Turkish lira, the euro even, the Argentine peso, or the Mexican currency, or the South African rand, or any other currency around the world. The base of their currencies is the US dollar. It's not gold. And of course, the base of the US dollar is US dollars. It's the treasury, the fact that the US is an empire still for now. So what's happening is that all these countries, and even Europe included, and the UK, when the dollar starts going up, how it has in the last few months, that means that these people are short the dollar synthetically, as they say, which is a term Richard Russell coined. And why are they short? Well, because when you borrow a currency, you go short the currency. That's how it works. So with the dollar going up and interest rates going up, it's been a horrible cocktail of short covering, higher financing costs, And yeah, they think that's already started. The crisis is ongoing and it's going to spill over everywhere around the world. Maybe this is the black swan, so to speak. And eventually what will happen, it's going to corner the Federal Reserve, like Jim Sinclair said, because they're between a rock and a hard place. If they keep raising rates, this problem keeps getting worse. And if they don't, the dollar keeps getting weaker. So they've got nowhere to go, nowhere to hide. So that's the first thing, the emerging markets, and that crisis is coming to a cinema near you, so to speak, be you in Europe, in the UK, or in the US, or anywhere around the world, Australia, New Zealand, Canada. The other thing that I took from it, and I wasn't surprised, and I've been telling my viewers, you need to be out of the system as much as possible, the fiat money system, because they think, Jim and Bill, that the crisis will happen overnight. Everything will change overnight, and it will be too late. It's not going to be a gradual thing, a gradual over years. It's going to be from a Friday to a Monday, or from a Tuesday to a Wednesday. And yeah, you need to be prepared. I do have some money in the system through my pension, which isn't a huge amount. I do have money in the bank, which I need to pay bills, but I'm very much out of the system. The other thing they point out, you need to be self-reliant. And how can you be self-reliant? Well, you need to be out of debt. You need to have somewhere to live. The other thing Jim Sinclair said, instead of going out and buying a new suit or a new car, or buying something expensive, if you go out and buy a silver coin or a silver bar or a 1 ounce gold coin. That's their advice. Yeah, things are gonna get, how can I say, disruptive. And I've been through that before in Brazil, where I grew up. We've had many currency disruptions, and yes, it's disruptive. Sometimes you won't get things in the shops because of logistics, but it sorts itself out. Maybe in the US and Europe it will be worse psychologically, because things have been running so smoothly in Western Europe and the US for many, many decades. South America, people are more used to it. So this is the other point. The other point he made, and is that the markets are games. He called the gold market a Nintendo game, and he said that price of gold at $1,200 is a complete joke. Bill Holter also says COMEX and the LBMA are complete criminal and fraudulent institutions. So yes, I do look at the markets, and I will keep looking at these Nintendo markets. But what I took from the interview is that you shouldn't worry about the price. You should worry about having gold and silver. And I agree with them. I agree with what they said. What else? In terms of war, Greg Hunter asked him about war. Jim Sinclair seems to think there's more of a possibility of there being a civil war in the US than there being a global war. So that's something to take into consideration. Of course, I'm in the UK. And what would cause that? Well, I think what Jim said is that if the legislature or the Congress tries to unseat President Trump, he says that won't go down well. So what else do they talk about? Yeah, Potemkin economy, the fact that what we're being told is complete fabrication about how well the economy is doing, and they recommend people go to shadowstats.com, and John Williams, who looks at the statistics, how they used to be looked at back in the 1970s and 80s before the US government changed the way they do the statistics to make things look better. So that's MOPE, Management of Perception Economics, which Jim Sinclair talks about. I'm just trying to think other interesting points they talked about. Yeah, the price of gold, where it would go. Jim Sinclair again says that if the U.S. has the gold it says it has at Fort Knox and other places, that gold would be reset to around just under 20,000. And that's just counting the debt, because gold is, the other side of the debt, or the fiat dollar. And that's just counting the amount that the U.S. owes to foreign countries. That's not all the debt that the government has. If you account for all the debt the government has, that's more like $80,000. But the most important thing is that you need to have gold and silver. And Bill Holter seems to think you need to have it yesterday. You need to be prepared now. They say that when is now. I know it's difficult to predict, but if you keep waiting, one day it will happen and it will be too late. So it's better to be prepared than not. And the other interesting point they made about gold and silver, because a lot of you prefer silver to gold. I like both. And Greg Hunter asked Jim Sinclair, what about silver? How come it's so low, the prices, even more manipulated? And then Bill Holter answered that question as well. But Jim Sinclair said that basically silver is gold on steroids. And I agree with him. He's said that for many years. The other thing, great analogy Bill Holter used is that gold is the grenade for the monetary system. And silver is the pin. So if you pull the pin and throw the grenade, the fiat system is completely obliterated. And that's why silver is so important, because it's the pin to the grenade. So really great interview. I recommend you guys watch the whole thing. Don't take my word for it. Yeah, so if you enjoyed this video, please like, share it, subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet. And I'd like to thank Bitcoin Ben for publicizing my channel yesterday on his live stream. I've gotten a lot of new subscribers thanks to Bitcoin Ben. And yeah, have a great rest of the weekend, and I'll talk to you later. Take care. Bye.